The following announcement has been paid for by the New World Order.
Okay, this is our next episode of True Wrestling Fans Discussions. I'm your host, Mike.
And I'm Frank.
We're going to go over the NWO.
The only thing I loved about WCW was the NWO. The black and white, till it got ridiculous.
Yeah.
So if everybody that's watching this 4-part series, get out your dry erase boards and get ready to start moving guys around, because this is a wild ride we're about to go on. So we all know this started right in May. Hall and Nash had their last match in WWE. They're all set to head over to WCW. It was 8 days after their final match on May 27th, 1996, where Scott Hall appeared on Monday Nitro during the Mauler versus Steve Dahl match.
He came out from the crowd.
Yeah. Thank you very much, by the way, because that match was just garbage.
Yeah, and that was actually, I believe it was Larry Zbyszko's idea for him to come out from the crowd to look more of like an invader than to walk down the ramp. And
I like Zbyszko's. He's trying to do his commentating, and they're all like, "What? Leave me alone! What is this?"
You know who I am, Chico, but you don't know why.
I'm here.
Yep.
That was the famous line.
Yep. That was the beginning. That was the beginning of history, man.
Yep. He stated that he had some unnamed allies, and he closed out with, "You want a war, you're gonna get one."
Yep.
You remember he also had was going, "Where's Billionaire Ted?"
Yeah, the Nacho
Man, referring to those vignettes they did back at WrestleMania, which were great. So even if the next week Hall came out and he had talked about he had a big surprise, because now he kept coming out weekly. It was just him at this point.
That's
he said he had a big surprise for Sting.
Right.
And on the next Nitro, the big surprise, remember he came out to the announce table.
Yes, but remember when he got into it with Sting, and Sting slapped him?
Yes.
He's like, "This is where I think he says the big. You know
this
where
you
are?
Play,
you're in the jungle." I think he said you're in the jungle, right?
The jungle, baby.
Yeah.
That was classic. And then you remember Scott Hall goes to the announce table, and Bischoff standing there. He's
where's the big surprise? Remember
he's pointing.
Yeah.
Bobby Heenan gets out of here, out of Dodge. All of a sudden, you see Nash is behind him. Remember, Nash tells him, he goes, "So this is where the big boys play, huh? We don't play."
Yeah.
That was classic.
That was yep.
So,
and I had known, I knew that they were coming in, because there was a free hotline, like 1-800 number that I used to call. So I knew when Scott Hall signed, I knew when Nash. I didn't know it was gonna be the NWO.
No, we just knew they were going there.
I knew they were going there.
This was our first experience. Internet. I remember there was a number in the back of the Yellow Pages.
Yes,
you could call.
That's the one that I used to call.
Yes,
but it wasn't the regular Yellow Pages. It was like a thin, like a local,
smaller one, like the business one.
Yes, and I used to call there. Yeah.
I used to call them weekly, man. It would tell you
every Sunday
who's coming in. Yes.
Yeah.
Who was leaving? Who was doing this? Who was doing that? That's how we got our news.
That's how
before the internet.
Before the internet. Before the
Oh, it was classic.
I used to do it all the time.
I loved it.
But Bischoff didn't initially have the idea for the NWO. He knew he wanted Scott Hall. Once he got Kevin Nash, then he started coming up with an idea like, okay, what can I really do that's different? And he had already they did that New Japan angle, similar like
then NWO originated there. Yeah,
the idea, and then he decided to go for it. And at first, he didn't know if Hall and Nash were actually going to come, or one or the other, because he felt like they might be leveraging. Because you never know. They might be trying to leverage for more money. Oh, yeah, I'm coming. And you go back to Vince and say, "Oh, look, this is what I was offered."
Exactly.
Match it. But the contracts that he offered blew out of the water.
Oh, there was no question they were going. Those guaranteed contracts, the less working dates.
That was the biggest part of it.
Exactly, because if you worked for Vince back then, it was 300 dates a year. And I think theirs was only 120.
No, it was more. It was like 150. It was like, but still, it's like
that's not bad. That's 150 working days out of 365.
Yeah, I mean,
I always wondered if he keeps giving contracts like that to guys, how is he going to fill his card yearly when you got these guys working a fraction of the year, and you've got a full 52-week schedule to fill, including pay-per-views.
But you had house shows too, so that was part of it. So you had some guys that were filling in the house shows, but they weren't doing the nitros and stuff like that.
What's funny that you mentioned house shows. Now that's actually going to become a thing of the past, because now going forward through 2021 and 22, they phased them out completely.
Yeah, yeah.
So the good old days of going to a house show and seeing your favorite wrestlers is unfortunately over. Because I used to love going to them.
Yeah, because the house shows, they just did whatever they wanted. They didn't have to follow like the storylines.
Exactly.
Yeah, so you saw matches you would normally not see. So it was cool. Yeah.
Great experience, but unfortunately, gone. So anyway, once Kevin Nash showed up, they would dub the Outsiders, which was kind of cool considering they were with the whole WWE invading WCW thing. Unfortunately, Vince didn't. He thought it was gimmick infringement, gimmick and trademark infringement. Which you got to look at it. If you look back at some of the interviews that Hall and Nash gave, and even Kevin Sullivan had said this. Scott Hall did come off as Razor Ramon.
Yeah.
With the hey yo and the toothpick, and it wasn't Scott Hall. If you notice after the fact, the accent went away.
Right.
And he was more Scott Hall. Kevin Nash was coming out doing the Diesel thing, so I can understand his.
But it was. You know what it really was though. Vince was scared. He knew these guys are gonna gain steam. I built these guys. He felt like he made these guys. They stabbed them in the back, and he's just trying to shut them down. That's all it was.
I don't even think he won the lawsuit. I think just WCW conceded and just said, "Okay, we'll cut it back."
It went on for years, and they had to cut certain things back, and it was. I mean, we could do a whole episode on the litigation. We're not going to get into every single detail, but that was just Vince being petty and trying to shut it down because the whole thing with the toothpick, and he was doing that when he was Diamond Stud. He came out with the toothpick, and I think he had the shadow, So, I mean, the Cuban accent, okay, fine, but
it came off a little bit, but
it did, but who cares? Like, who really cares?
As a fan, I'm just seeing this going, okay, where are we going with this?
But Hulk Hogan was being Hulk Hogan in WCW, and Macho Man was being Macho Man in WCW, right? But I guess technically they own the rights to those names, or Vince let them have it. Whatever. Either way, it's not something we haven't seen before. And exactly. when guys went over there, it was the same situation. There was the big lawsuit with that, and it was just a bunch of nonsense. It was petty stuff, just trying to shut down.
Well, that was the first lawsuit. The second lawsuit.
There were multiple lawsuits.
Bischoff had actually proposed an interpromotional matches that he was going to air on TBS that Vince McMahon claims he was never made aware of.
Here's the other thing about that lawsuit is that this is what they said in court. Vince said, that they're confusing the fans. The fans are going to think that they are still working for the WWE. And so they're confused and they're going to start watching WCW thinking that this is really WWE and we're part of it. None of us thought that they were part of WWE.
No.
Okay. We knew it was a storyline.
We knew the storyline of them being supposedly an invasion from WWE seemed it was good.
Come on.
But we knew they were under contract by them. I mean, come on.
We know. That's just Vince again trying to be petty and trying to win and trying to shut them because he saw that some momentum was starting to shift to them.
Yes.
So,
oh yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was.
Because you remember even after the lawsuit, they had him come out. What was it? The Great American Bash.
Was it Great American Bash or Slamboree? Maybe Great American Bash. When he got jackknifed, right? You talking about that?
Yeah.
You guys, Bishop's like,
do you work for the WWF?
Like, no. Do you work for? No. And then, bro, let me tell you something. That's one of my favorite skits. Me and Peter used to reenact this skit all the time. He's like, "You don't jerk us around, Chico," and he punches him in the stomach. Scott Hall punches him in the stomach, right? And then Kevin Nash jackknifes him off the stage. Here's a little backstory to that. That's the first bump that Eric Bischoff ever took.
Yes, it is.
They didn't rehearse it because Bischoff was scared. God forbid I get hurt in practice. I'm not going to be able to run it. Yeah. Right. So he said, I might as well get hurt live. That way we did it. It's done and over with. And then I recover.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So he did it pretty good. He took the bump pretty good.
That was awesome. I loved it. I've loved it. I was clapping. I'm like, oh, this is awesome, man.
Oh yeah. So, and then that was even at the event where they told Bischoff, get your best three.
Yeah.
Which when I watched that, I'm like, okay, it's got to be Hogan, Sting, and Savage. It's got to be. And it was just go ahead.
Yeah, they considered Flair being one of them.
I could have seen that, yeah.
Because he was a WCW original, but Bischoff said that he wanted to hold Flair off to feud with them later on. He's like, I need to hold somebody off, and then later on I'll throw them. I'll throw Flair in there.
Makes sense.
You know.
I love how because and I remember that as far as going on the third man, this has been well documented that they wanted to do Sting.
Yeah.
Because Hogan was afraid that it was totally going to kill his gimmick, which, to be quite honest, beginning of '96, he was going downhill anyway.
He was getting booed. The last time he showed up, I remember they booed him on Nitro in the red and yellow.
That was against Bossman or Big Bubba Rogers.
I don't remember. I know he cut a promo and they were booing him. I don't remember who we fought.
Yeah, the whole Pasta Mania nonsense.
People, they weren't buying. Hulkamania was already starting to fade. The other thing is
12 years of it by now.
Right, but the other thing is too, it wasn't only about it was about the money, because Hogan was selling so much money with merch, and he had some outside deals as a babyface. He was worried about it affecting his pocket. So they approached Sting, but then Sting was a little shaky. Sting was like, he wasn't really too.
It didn't make sense, to be honest. I mean, if you got two former WWE guys coming in to do this, having a WCW guy, it wouldn't have clicked to me. It wouldn't have made sense.
No, I don't. I mean, I don't think Sting could have pulled it off too. Well, the Hollywood gimmick that we eventually got was, I mean, you talk about a rebirth.
Oh yeah, that resurrected Hogan. I actually liked him better as that.
That gave him another few years of life.
Yeah, definitely.
And we saw him as a heel. I mean, we hadn't seen him as a heel in WWE post Hulkamania. He was a heel back in the days.
It was actually the first time he turned heel since 1981 when he was in AWA. And
that never happened according to WWE history. So I never saw it.
What, did Peacock blow that out too?
I don't know.
Because I remember it. I watched him face J.J. Dillon for the no, I'm sorry, not J.J. Dillon, Nick Bockwinkel for the AWA Championship.
I'm just saying, as a kid, my history was just WWE. So
I thought you were honestly telling me that they got rid of it. Wouldn't have been surprised to me.
I mean,
so that brings us to July 7th, 1996, the hostile takeover.
Right, but remember, Hogan doesn't want to do it, and then Hogan starts to realize, wait a minute, these guys are starting to pick up steam. I got to get on the gravy train before they can't leave. And he called up Bischoff. Bischoff met up with him, and then he told Bischoff.
Wasn't it the day before that he decided that he was going to go ahead and do it?
I don't know if it was the day before, but it was fairly close to the event.
Yeah.
And he said, "You're looking at him. You're looking at the third member." And then he decided, we got Bash at the Beach.
Because if you look during the match, you think it's Luger. Because the K-Fob knockout injury, he's out of the match. Now he's got a tag team match.
He's starting to question who it is.
Well, in my book, I started questioning everybody because I'm like, okay, somebody in this match has to be turning because the third guy's not here.
Hasn't shown up yet,
yeah. Yeah, they've got to be in the ring. And then you see Hogan come down, and I'm like, at first I'm like, oh, he's going to whoop the ass. And then I'm like, no, he's not.
But Bobby Heenan screwed up. Because Bobby Heenan says, yeah, but whose side is he on?
Well, at that point, you got to wonder because you got.
I know, but he ruined the surprise.
He jumped it. His classic thing was Hulk Hogan has betrayed WCW. Yeah. That's the quote that'll live in infamy.
I just like that later on. He's like, I knew it. You see, all these years I was right about him. I never trusted him. That was great. Bobby was the best.
Yes.
But yeah, he comes out. You don't know if he's gonna help these guys. And then he leg dropped. As
soon as he pushed Randy Anderson, the referee, he goes and leg drops, and you can see the reaction on the crowd.
Oh,
it was just like, oh my god! And then they came in the ring, and here comes all the trash. That speech that he gave was just great. Where Mean Gene gets in the ring. So, I mean, he tells the fans, the first thing you can do is you can stick it, brother.
Yeah, you fans can stick it, brother.
And you can call this the new world order of professional wrestling.
Yep.
And off to the races we go.
Mm-hmm.
So, we get that. And so now, what was it? It was a couple of weeks later.
Yeah, he didn't show up on the next Nitro, I don't think. I think it was like 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
Hogan showed up. I think Hall and Nash might have been there, but
Hall and Nash kept showing up periodically, but they definitely showed up for this one. You remember this famous Monday Nitro, July 29th, 96, in I think it was in
Florida,
Orlando?
Right? And
yes.
You know what's funny? I was in Orlando at the time. I was on vacation, and I was trying to get my mother and my aunt to go, and they didn't want to go. We were right there, and I'm like, "Come on, the Nitro, NWO," and they're like, "Nah, I don't." I'm like, Damn it.
You remember what they did to Mysterio? They threw him like a lawn dart because they were the whole locker room.
That was great. That's
out.
one of my favorite moments of the NWO.
Larry Zbyszko said he threw him like a lawn dart.
All right. And then I think Mysterio was saying, "Oh, there was 4 of them or something like that, right?" Then he said like there was 4 of them. There was 4 of them because at that point there was only the 3.
3, yeah. And there was supposedly going around that there was another member.
You know,
and so yeah. Go ahead.
You know what they messed up before that? I'm pretty sure it was before Hogan got there. They were kind of embarrassing WCW, man. Do you remember but I loved it though because I loved those guys, Hall and Nash. Remember when they came out with the baseball bats?
Yes.
And
that was during the tag team title match. They held off the entire roster
and the police department
with 2 guys with bats held
bats.
off 30 individuals.
Yeah.
And you know the best part about that whole thing is the match never stopped because if you see, I think it was Harlem Heat rolled them up for the pin and won the tag belts.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait a minute, you just had a whole bunch of chaos in the ring with bats and interference, and this match is still going.
Yeah.
I'm like.
You know what's funny about that is that I don't know if it was standards and practices. I believe it might have been standards and practices. This is when they first started like kind of getting it didn't get bad till later on with standards and practices.
Yeah.
But they told them that you can't use the baseball bats. And Hall and Nash were pissed. And Kevin Sullivan was in charge of booking at the time.
Yes, he was.
And Kevin Sullivan was saying, to them like, yeah, you guys can't use the baseball bats, okay? And he was nodding his head, yes, you can't use the baseball bats.
He was also the same one that said, he goes, I came up with the storyline of, them holding back the entire roster. But then he's like, I look back at it and go, well, hell, this didn't make any sense.
Right. Yeah.
And it really didn't because, again, 30 guys being held back by 2 dudes with baseball bats. As a fan, we're cheering going, oh, they're badass. But realistically, you got to look at it going, this is cheesy.
Well, not even so much cheesy, just like kind of like, wow, the WCW, they're really a bunch of bums. If they can't
where are the big boys?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, but I mean, it was still cool, but a little note.
So, and leading up to in August, you remember they were doing the vignettes for Hogan because he was challenging the Giant for the WCW title in his first match as NWO.
And they had it in black and white, and the way it would cut.
And Bischoff's saying, "What do you want for your birthday?"
Yeah,
I want to beat the Giant. Yeah. I want his title.
You know what's funny? They said that when Hogan was first doing the promos, he was doing it too much like Hulk Hogan, the old Hulk Hogan.
He had to knock it back a little bit.
He said it was awful, and he had to tone it down. And then they started really editing it, like cutting certain things in a way and that's how we got the classic NWO, the way it's cut, it's spliced together, and it came out good. But it was originally because of Hogan. Hogan was doing too much of his.
Because he was so used to doing, exactly for so long that now he's got to start thinking Hollywood and evil and bad guy.
Yeah.
And so with Bischoff coming up with that, I thought it was classic. It was a perfect vignette to build up to the match. And obviously, Hogan doesn't win the match cleanly. He gets the help of Hall and Nash. He wins the WCW title. And it was actually 2 weeks after Hog Wild that we got member number 4. It became Ted DiBiase, who they nicknamed Trillionaire Ted.
Which I didn't get because I knew he wasn't going to wrestle.
So he wasn't supposed to be the wrestler. He was the financial. And also at the time, he was kind of like the leader until we'll get into it in a little bit when Bischoff kind of muscled him out.
Right.
But Ted DiBiase was the guy that was backing the group financially, bringing in members and stuff like that. So he was kind of like the boss, but he was like the silent boss. And I always thought it was cool because you see Hogan and DiBiase feuding for years. And now they're partnered together. It's just like I couldn't. Yeah, you couldn't make that up. And then shortly after DiBiase had become in, this is when everybody starts the channel surfing. Who's going to show up next?
Yeah, so it's funny that you mentioned that. So at that point, I really started watching WCW, or even before. Once Hall and Nash showed up, I started actually watching it because before I would flip it on. Or I would try to catch the replay that they used to give. I set my VCR really late. I remember they used to give Nitro. They would give it once and then later on at night, 11 or 12, whatever it was.
Kind of like what they do with AEW now. Yeah. They do the replay later.
But once they showed up, then I started actually tuning in. And then I started leaving it on Nitro. And I would kind of shift over to WWE. But I would catch a lot of the stuff on the weekends, how they would just summarize what happened. Superstars, they would go over it. Because it was just better. It was edgier. it was kind of like unpredictable,
Mhm.
and so that's when a lot of people started to.
They were using the real life names and characters
Yeah.
where WWE was still in that cartoonish phase, not quite in the Attitude Era yet. And so, yeah, it was more interesting to see what Nitro was doing because now they were building up tremendously. So, well, we've got our fourth member. Now we've got our fifth member. September 2nd, the Giant joins the NWO.
Which
so, like I said, everybody get that dry erase board. Start writing them down if you're not familiar.
You know what's funny? Again, that's another one that me and my friend Peter, we used to reenact the promo when the Giant said, and Hulk Hogan invited me to his house, and I didn't see one car, but many cars. We always used to do that promo because it was so funny. You
remember the one he did when they took over, when they destroyed the announce table, and him and Hogan are doing a simultaneous thing. They're saying the same thing, only the Giant
whether you like it,
yes,
or not. It's the best thing going
today. And Giant kept screwing it up.
Right, yeah, he was messing. He was botching.
And I'm like, you got this dummy in there? Right. I mean, come on. At least let somebody else cut that promo.
Yeah, I know. He was never really that good at the mic. He got better later on, but
when he got the WWE,
yeah, but he was kind of rough. But he was a great athlete, though.
Yeah. So on September 2nd, he joins the NWO. He turned on the Dungeon of Doom and the Four Horsemen and Randy Savage. I mean, okay, we get it. You turned on everybody. But you remember how Nitro used to end back then? The main event ended in double disqualification because 43 guys.
It was just a mess at the end, yeah.
But then when Sting comes out of the rafters,
it's Sting. It's Sting.
It's Sting. We gotta go.
Yeah.
As soon as Sting comes down, that's it. Okay.
Right. Okay, we gotta go.
But it was classic.
Yeah.
And then September 9th, 1 week later, the fans got tricked with NWO Sting.
Yeah.
I mean, you could tell that it wasn't.
I know,
but it was fun to watch. It was actually wrestler Jeff Farmer that was dressing up as him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If anybody doesn't know who he is, don't worry about it. He's NWO Sting.
Yeah.
So fake Sting attacked Luger, and Luger was now questioning whether Sting's loyalty, which okay, we know this is storyline because if Luger can't tell that this isn't him, type thing. Just like when the Undertaker skit did a few years earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So he started questioning, and at Fall Brawl, only 3 wrestlers were announced for it. It was Hogan, Hall, Nash, and NWO Sting. It was Luger, Flair, and Arn Anderson for WCW for that match. And what's funny is Sting was originally named the 4th member, but his participation was in doubt because of all of this.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't know which way he was leaning. Right when the match started, Sting had showed up moments later. He cleared the ring completely of the NWO, and he assaulted the NWO and left the ring on his term, telling Luger, "Now do you believe me?" And he just walked out. And I was like, "Okay, what's going on here?" So from there on, the match was a 4-on-3 the rest of the way. Obviously, the NWO wins. The NWO Sting put Luger in the Scorpion Deathlock.
Yep.
Match is over. So, and then you remember that next night, Sting cut that amazing promo on the fans. He came out and laid it into WCW for doubting him. He came out unexpectedly, no music, and he had his back to the camera.
Mm-hmm.
And what was that famous thing he had said?
Well, you're thinking about later on, because that was when he made that famous quote is when he actually came back as the Crow Sting. Those were like his last words.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I got that. Okay.
Yeah. This one, he just kind of like walked out.
He pretty much told, in this one, the famous thing was he told WCW they could stick it.
Yeah.
Because for doubting him. And this was actually the start of his 15-month hiatus, which I think he had in real life, didn't he? Was something with a surgery. I think he was injured.
I'm not sure if he was injured or he just needed a break. But I know
because without something like that, I can't see them just okay. We're not going to have you wrestle for 15 months, so just go chill somewhere.
Right, but he didn't. But at the same time, he was still on the program. He would show up. He just wasn't wrestling. He didn't wrestle for a long time.
Yeah, he called himself the free agent.
Yes.
He wasn't WCW nor NWO,
mm-hmm.
which was kind of cool. So unfortunately, when he came back, match wasn't as good. So now that same night, we get member number 6. It was 6. Thought it was kind of cool. It was X-Pac,
Yeah, it was
Sean
X-Pac,
Waltman,
yeah.
1, 2, 3 Kid, whatever you want to call him.
And that was before. Wait, okay. The Giant was 5, right?
Giant was
The Giant
5.
was- okay.
So Sean Waltman
For
was
some
6.
reason, I was thinking about Vincent. I forgot when Vincent showed up, aka Virgil.
He was next. He was number 7.
Okay.
So Vincent was I'm telling you, this is why we need the dry erase board.
Right.
Because
I know he was in there.
During the Monday Night Wars, you said they talk about how 30 guys get out of 6 limos.
Out of limos, yeah.
I mean, a normal faction back then, and even now, is maybe 4 or 5 members tops. And we're already member number 7. So, and unfortunately, Vincent of all people, but yeah, it was Vincent, aka Virgil, who was head of security.
You know why they called him Vincent, right?
Vincent McMahon.
Vince McMahon,
yeah.
Just like the reason why they called him Virgil was Dusty Rhodes.
Mm-hmm. So I just
head
thought it was
head of
funny.
Security.
Yeah, he's head of security. We got a 7-foot guy with a baseball bat, but we got Virgil as head of security now. Yeah. Tell me that doesn't make any sense.
Hey man, go find me. He got a payday for like nothing.
He got paid to get a beatdown.
Pretty much.
A couple of pay-per-views at that, but that was it.
Put on an NWO shirt.
Everybody put on an NWO shirt.
Yeah.
We put it on. We part of the group.
Yeah. I guess.
I'm not NWO elite.
No. Oh, we'll get to that. Jesus Christ.
So following that was Nick Patrick.
Yes.
Now he's the next, and I always thought that was funny. I mean, we saw that coming.
It was funny. Yeah, it was.
He became the official NWO referee.
Which I don't understand. I'm like, okay, can't WCW just fire him?
In a way, yeah, but
I mean, it's wrestling, you know.
And it was always funny that Bischoff always said that he wanted to do his own NWO show. And as a kid, you're watching this going, wait a minute, you want these guys to fight themselves on their own show? Then why are they together here?
I think what it was it was going to be NWO was going to be in every match, not fighting each other, but they were going to be an NWO member would be in every match. I think that's what the plan.
Kind of like what they did at Sold Out.
Yeah,
when they had that with the pay-per-views.
Yeah.
Well, as long as they don't get every victory.
Yeah, it was supposed to be NWO Nitro.
Oh,
which they did. They had one episode.
Yeah, I remember that.
Which was the debacle. But
so the next person on our list was Miss Elizabeth.
Yes.
She turned on the 4 Horsemen and became Hogan's valet. Well, he had lust in his eyes.
Again, he didn't learn.
I don't think it ever left.
Apparently, he didn't learn from the first time he got a beating.
Yeah, right.
You know what's funny? It's slightly off topic. When we did the WrestleMania 9 review, I forgot to mention. Remember how Hogan got that black eye right before WrestleMania 9? You know, the urban legend was that Macho Man punched him in the face right before WrestleMania and gave him a black eye. That was an urban legend for years. For years,
like that.
And Scott Steiner told a story that Macho Man hated Hogan. This is like 92 around there when the Steiner brothers were there. 92, 93. They were all there. And he said that Macho Man told him one day, he's like, this is the day. I'm going to knock him out. As soon as I see him come out, I'm going to knock him out. And he said that Hogan was coming down like the ramp, right? I guess they were doing rehearsals or something.
Yeah.
Hogan was coming down the ramp and Macho Man dropped his bag and he said, Hogan. And that Hogan saw him and then just like did an about face and got the hell out of there.
Possible.
Great story.
Who knows?
Great story.
I honestly don't think he liked him for years, even when he was with them in the NWO. But
he hated it. They had a back and forth. You know how the story? I don't want to get too sidetracked, but do you know how the story started? Right? Why he hated Hogan?
Well, besides the whole late '80s thing.
No, it was because him and Elizabeth were having a lot of problems. They were having a lot of marital problems, and then Hogan and his wife invited her down to Florida when he was filming Mr. Nanny. And she flew down there and didn't even tell Macho Man where the hell she was. And they might have been separated at that time. They might have been.
I thought they were because when she was his valet, wasn't it? They were already divorced or separated.
They at some point. I don't remember.
Unless they rekindled and got back together.
They probably did, but you know how it is. You break up, get back together, whatever.
Yeah, anyway. Exactly.
So she went down to Florida, and Macho Man had no idea where the hell she was and was going crazy and didn't know where.
I remember this now.
And Hogan never told him, "Oh, your wife is down here," and he felt like Hogan and his wife were putting it into her head, like, "Oh, you need to leave him. You need to leave him. He's too controlling." Well, that's where
I can see where he gets that from.
Yeah, that's where it stems from. But then apparently they when Macho Man was trying to leave WWE to go to WCW, they kind of like squashed. Again, this is according to Hogan, so we have to. We have to take what he said that Macho Man called him up. Hey, brother, can we talk? And that they went to a gym with a case of beer and they sat down and that they hashed everything out. And he's like, I love you, brother. I'm sorry for what happened. And
it had nothing to do with the check that and the contract that Bischoff was offering. It was all Hogan.
Who the hell knows? But there was always heat between the two of them. So
yeah.
So
I can always see it.
Yeah. So she joins Hogan and the band.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and what's funny is the WCW only recognized Hogan, Nash, and Hall technically as WCW employees in the storyline due to them holding the titles because the Outsiders were the tag champs and then Hogan was the heavyweight champion.
Right.
The other members went unrecognized as WCW employees. Because of this, they weren't allowed to wrestle other WCW wrestlers. So, and I know they had done this for about a month. And that led to a segment called NWO Saturday Night. Remember that? That lasted like a cup of coffee, where NWO members wrestled jobbers instead of regular wrestlers.
Yeah, it was bad. It was pretty bad. I remember that.
It lasted. It wasn't that long. It was like I remember catching. I think they had like maybe 3 episodes. I remember catching one of them, and I was like, "Wow, this is their ultimate solution."
Yeah, it looked like really like low budget. It was like.
It really was.
Yeah.
It really was. So now the NWO was also using their financing to purchase ad time during the programming because you remember all the vignettes they were doing.
Yeah. The preceding announcement is
paid for by the NWO.
By the New World Order.
Loved it, man. Yeah. I loved it. How many times? If you weren't, I tell you back then, if you weren't doing the DX shop, you were doing the NWO or the Too Sweet. I mean,
we had a crew in high school called the NWO.
Wrestling, man. It was just classic. Yeah. It was just awesome.
They were over, man. They were over like you wouldn't believe.
And you know, if you watch today, they still are because even watching Raw, SmackDown, or even the pay-per-views now, you'll find at least one person wearing an NWO
shirt. Yeah,
kind of like us.
Yep.
Anyway, so getting back to where I was. They were doing ad time on WCW programming, which amounted to low-budget anti-WCW propaganda, or how they did it, Operation Hijack the Broadcast Signal, which was okay.
They stormed the stage and everything. It was cool the way they shot certain things though, because I remember when NWO was starting to invade, they started to use different camera angles that we never saw.
Yes.
So it kind of gave it like a realistic, like, oh, this is not supposed to be happening because the shots were like from behind the.
And they did that a lot during the fight that broke out with Mysterio, because remember the cops were called for that one.
Yeah, people called the cops in the neighborhood because
they really thought it was a gang fight.
Thought it was a gang war. Yeah.
And the between the angles that they used for that and here, plus the black and white, was all stuff that we're seeing now for the very first time. So I mean, it was awesome.
Yeah, groundbreaking for sure.
So now you got Hogan as the world champ. The Outsiders are the tag champs. Now the Giant is the U.S. champion, and he beats Ric Flair. So why not bring in our next member? Eric Bischoff is revealed.
Easy E.
Yep. When Piper was demanding a match with Hogan, he got attacked by the NWO, and that was when it was revealed that Bischoff was running things with them.
Okay, so when was that? Was that was still 96, right? This is like towards the end of 96, like in this. So it was before Starrcade, I think. Right? Okay. Yeah, Bischoff. You know, it's funny because
Piper fought Hogan in Starrcade.
Listen, man. Vince gets all this credit for like that ultimate heel gimmick, but when he kind of stole it in a way from Eric Bischoff.
I don't know,
because
I mean,
Eric, he was the first one that I'm the guy in charge, and I'm a heel.
Bischoff was the first, but I think McMahon was better with it.
He was different because he was the owner of the company, and I mean,
Bischoff's things was just ratings.
No, but
on Nitro, but I mean,
but what I'm trying to say is he was the first. Think about it, like he
was.
Everyone knew he was the president of the company,
so
it was like similar, but he did it before Vince actually did it.
Yeah, so. Vince did it a year later.
Yeah, so
Okay, so Vince bit something off of them. Okay.
I'm just saying, man. I'm just saying.
That's right. It's a fact.
Yeah.
Bischoff had turned way before Vince did.
Yeah.
Vince was still doing his kiddie commentary by that point on Raw, which kind of got annoying after a while. But in any event,
so he gets revealed.
Yep.
He was the benefactor, right? That's what they called him, I think. The benefactor.
Yeah, Bischoff took over the NWO from DiBiase, who actually left. After this, he stuck around because remember he became the manager of the Steiner brothers, but in overall he left in April of '97.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But he took over from DiBiase. Bischoff gave WCW wrestlers 30 days at this point to join the group, or else. So by that point,
that was great, man.
It was. So now again, this is where you need the dry erase board because you got to add some names because right after he gave the speech, these boys walked out and signed up.
Is that one? Was that when they held Randy? Not Randy Savage. I'm sorry. When they held Piper, or was that later on? Remember they held him all NWO? Okay.
Yeah.
So much stuff.
I'm telling you, man. If we're not catching something right now, comment and let us know.
Just remind us, yeah.
I mean, we're trying to grab everything that they did. This is week in and week out, and it's a whole lot. Man.
It doesn't help that Peacock doesn't have Nitro. So
I know.
I wanted to try to go back and watch.
Hey, I'm supposed to be the one that throws the jabs at him, not you.
No, okay, my bad. That's your shtick. That's your gimmick.
Shtick.
That's your gimmick. Yeah.
I challenge Peacock to next year's WrestleMania. No, I'm just kidding. That's an AEW thing. So you get Buff Bagwell, Mr. Wall Street, IRS,
AKA
Mike Rotunda, whatever you want to call him at this point. I don't care.
Jesus Christ.
Big Bubba Rogers, again, Boss Man, Fallen Angel, Garden Angel, whatever you want to call him, he's in there.
The Boss.
Yeah. I mean, and Scott Norton all joined in the following weeks.
Oh man, this is not the
this brought them down to me. I think
this is not the beginning of the end because that comes much later on. It at the same time, it's like it was too much. It was like you're watering down like what it means to be part of when you're part of the NWO, you're part of
And this is only 5 months in.
5 months into it, I did like Buff Bagwell though.
Yes.
I did like Buff. I'm Buff.
But see, putting him in there now ended the whole, it's WWE invading WCW because now you got your actual, besides the Giant, which I didn't really count. Buff Bagwell's another WCW guy that joined them besides Scott Norton. So now that whole gimmick kind of went away.
You know what it was? Because Bischoff was trying to make two distinct brands. He was trying to make NWO and WCW. So NWO needed more members. So that's why.
The only problem is these guys, I mean, Wall Street, they were having a problem with re-gimmicking them at this point. Same thing with Rogers. I mean, the only two guys that had anything going for them was Vicious and Delicious, and that was Norton and Bagwell. I mean,
Norton was good.
At this time, they were. Norton eventually became something that they just didn't use anymore.
He was Fire and Ice before that, right?
Fire and Ice, yes. And then famous Vicious and Delicious with Bagwell, but they only tagged that a handful of times with that one.
I used to love when Buff used to be like, "I'm Buff."
I'm the stuff.
Yeah.
I'm the stuff.
I'm the stuff. Yeah.
There's a certain guy in the group, Jose, and if he watches this, he'll know. He used to quote him nonstop when we worked at Blockbuster back in the day. He used to quote Buff Bagwell all the time.
Yeah, I'm telling you, all of us, bro. We used to all quote different. I
don't know how many times we were at work and we'd be quoting it. Especially if somebody had a late fee. Well, if you're not down with that,
right.
Well, that was somebody else. We didn't really do the old NWO thing. So in any event, now come December 16th, we get a New Japan entry into the New World Order, Masahiro Chono.
Yeah.
Who was he established himself as the leader of NWO Japan, a sister stable in New Japan Pro Wrestling, which was run or managed by Sonny Ono.
Yeah.
So I liked him. He's a little weasel type thing.
Yeah, he was cool.
He was a cool manager.
Mm-hmm.
So that leads us to Starrcade. Piper actually beats Hogan this whole thing leading up.
Yeah, and the build up. I love the build up to Piper. Because remember Piper was saying how you never beat me, like he never pinned his shoulders. Mm-hmm. That was the whole thing when they were in WWE together. He never. He was remember Piper was calling himself the Icon, I believe, right?
Yes, this is where the whole Icon thing started.
Exactly. That's
between these two, which it should in reality it should.
And then Shawn Michaels became the icon.
Yes, I was just going to say.
But it was Piper. It was Piper.
Shortly into 97, you hear Shawn Michaels using the icon. But in actuality, the icon match was Hogan and Piper, hands down. Whether you liked them or not, it was them.
And this wasn't the Alcatraz one. That was like a year later, right?
That was a year later. You talking about the Cow Palace? I think that was a Super Brawl. The one you're talking about.
Remember he was training in Alcatraz?
Yeah. Oh my God.
That was dude. I
that was good. Cool, I liked it.
I thought it was cool as hell, bro. He had the reality check T-shirt. Remember?
Mm-hmm. Well, by this point, Piper had left WWE, and you remember he was talking about when he got there. He goes, "They don't have any one-hipped wrestlers there," and he goes, "You're right. There is no one hip there."
Remember? Remember he was like, "You promised your son you would never wrestle again." Remember that whole promo that he cut on him? Yeah,
it was classic.
Then they beat him up, right? Is that when they beat him up?
Constantly. It was constant. Piper was getting the constant.
But then again, and the NWO was beating up everybody all the time anyway. It was hard to keep up with the beatings they used to hand out every single week.
It was kind of sad because every time you look, Flair and Savage are getting a beat down.
Yeah.
They're always on the floor getting sprayed.
Remember they sprayed the yellow on Macho? I'll never forget on Savage, NWO, the yellow. The stripe.
You kind of feel bad for them. I'm like, wow, is it in their contract to
they had to give them
whooping every week?
I know, give them something, right?
There's got to be a time where you get one over on them.
The only time, I think it was in '97. I don't want to jump ahead too much. I think when Luger beat Hogan for the title.
Yeah, I remember that.
That was the only time. But then he lost it right after.
Then he lost it 3 days later. Yeah, I got that in there.
Yeah. So.
But again, it was a whole Thunder thing leading to a pay-per-view, and it's just like, again, something else you gave away for free. Of course, when we get to 1998, the biggest thing they gave away for free. Oh yeah, there's a lot of these that should have been pay-per-view matches. Yeah. I've always said their Monday Nitros were pay-per-views, and their pay-per-views were Monday Nitros.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, yeah.
Because you're paying to see something you should be watching for free on Monday. And then on Monday, I'm getting a pay-per-view for free. I should be writing these down and documenting them. So, but in any event, if you also remember at that Starrcade, besides Piper beating Hogan, that was the event that they tried to recruit Diamond Dallas Page.
Yes.
This is where Page came into his own.
And listen, little backstory. So Diamond Dallas Page and Scott Hall were close friends.
Oh yeah.
DDP
Diamond is the Stud and Diamond Exchange.
Yeah. DDP is the one who hooked him up with Eric Bischoff and made the connection. Mm-hmm. And that's how Scott Hall ended up going to WCW, because of Diamond Dallas Page. They were very, very close friends.
Yep. And we've said this before in the Razor Ramon documentary. Diamond Dallas Page saved Scott Hall on the Jake Roberts documentary. He brought him in and saved him from the downward spiral he was in. Mm-hmm. So yeah, they've been lifelong, almost like brothers.
Yep.
Those two. And that's one of the reasons why they did this, because they love to work together. And this even helped I called it the feud of the year in '98, Page and Savage.
Yeah.
That was the best feud, period, 1998, those two guys. So they I forgot where I was. Oh yeah, DDP. They had actually cost Eddie Guerrero his U.S. title match in the tournament. I think he was facing Page. Mm-hmm. They tried to get Diamond Dallas to turn. Remember, he shook his hand and he puts the shirt on. Mm-hmm. And when he shakes his hand, he turns him around, gives him the diamond cut.
Right, and this guy had turned his back. I think it was Nash.
Nash had turned his back, yeah. So you knew something was going to happen.
Right.
And then when he turns back, he's out the ring giving the diamond thing, and then off he goes, and he's like, I'm not signing with you guys.
And you know that was so good to at least keep another guy with WCW, and that also helped Page get over a lot. Mm-hmm. It did a lot.
This started his big push.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So his actual doing because remember they tried to help him, because remember they helped him in that match at Starrcade, but the actual event with Scott Hall was on the January 13th episode of Nitro. So I thought it was the same night, but it was actually the two separate.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Again, everybody, it's a whole lot. So, and then we go to Sold Out in '97.
Oh Jesus.
Yeah.
Listen, as much as I love the NWO, that Sold Out was a mess. It was a disaster.
First one was garbage.
You know what I don't understand? Why the hell did they come out in garbage trucks? Do you remember in the beginning, the promo when it starts?
Yes.
Their NWO was all riding on garbage trucks.
That's because they said they were here to take the trash out, the WCW trash.
Okay, I get it, but at the same time, like, it's the NWO, and the picture of them on the garbage trucks is basically like the
We're
visual,
trash.
the optics is like the NWO is trash,
Yeah.
right?
We're making all this money, and we're not coming out in limos. We're
They
coming
should
out
have
in
came out,
garbage
or they
trucks.
should have. I know it was the winter. I think it was snowing too. I know it was
It was in
cold.
January.
That was Chicago, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It was,
I
it
didn't
was
even
somewhere,
like. Honestly, I didn't
cold.
even like the arena either. The arena
No, it
looked
looked terrible.
cheesy to
But
have this pay-per-view.
They should have came out like on Harleys or something like that, not garbage trucks.
I could have saw that at
or like
Road Wild.
Or like even maybe like SUVs or something like that.
Something
Hummers
more
or
luxurious
something
than what they had.
Garbage
or like the
trucks?
monster trucks that they had at one point.
Garbage
Scott X-Pac on it.
Yeah, but garbage trucks. All
right.
Anyway,
I mean, I can understand the message, but just say the message. Don't come out and be the message.
Yeah. But anyway, they have the pay-per-view, which was.
Because the Steiners beat the Outsiders for the tag titles. But then the next night, if you remember Bischoff, he gave the Outsiders the titles back, claiming the referee Randy Anderson, who ran into to officiate because the referee got knocked down after Nick Patrick fell down. Of course, he was not the official referee, so he took the titles away.
Mm-hmm.
They were known for this in WCW because if you ever notice, if there was something like this, they would automatically take the titles off them and give it back to them. Or if there was like a time limit draw or a double pin or something to that effect, they would always vacate the titles. They were always known for vacated titles. It didn't make any sense why they constantly did that stuff.
No, it wasn't good booking. I don't think it was good booking.
I don't think Kevin Sullivan was doing a good job of it because I think he was.
Yeah, he was the booker.
From here through 2000, he was the booker.
Yeah.
So, and then that led to Randy Anderson getting fired by Eric Bischoff, and then we remember the whole thing later on where he comes out. I got kids. He was the first.
Yeah. I remember that. Yeah.
And that's probably Heath Slater's dad.
Yeah.
And this was actually Savage had returned for the first time since Halloween Havoc, claiming to be blackballed. And remember, he hijacked Nitro. That night he sat in the
middle of the ring, right? Yeah, I remember that.
Until Sting showed up and they both left through the crowd. And this had people thinking, okay, because they both wearing black and white, but they're not affiliated with anybody.
Right, right. At that point, yeah, you kind of felt that Sting might be.
Yeah.
Right, but at the same time, because remember he cut that promo when he said the only thing about Sting is there's nothing for sure. Nothing's for sure.
Exactly.
That was the first time you saw him with that paint, and then he kind of like vanished.
Unfortunately, that gimmick with Savage, because you remember it was a couple of couple of Nitros where they would I think it was with Luger especially, where they would throw the back down and then turn their back, like you could trust us type thing.
Yeah.
Or can we trust you? But it didn't last long because at Super Brawl 7, Randy Savage was the next entry in the NWO.
NWO,
yeah. The whole if you can't beat him, join him. Yeah. And I guess he was tired of getting his butt whooped. And really, I thought that was a slap in the face to him and Flair, week in and week out. I can understand doing it to the Jerichos, Guerreros, all those guys, but I mean, two prestigious wrestlers like this constantly getting their butt handed to them. I mean, come on.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
So in any event, after weeks of following Sting as a free agent, he helped Hogan defeat Piper and participated in a post-match beatdown of Piper after that. Because, God forbid, Hope Piper's not going to get 2 wins straight over Hogan. So now Savage is the next, what is that, number, 14 at this point? I lost count. So I said, dry erase board, everybody.
Yeah.
Put it out. So, anyway, the next night, Savage helped Hall and Nash get revenge on DDP by attacking him from behind and reunited with Miss Elizabeth. So now he's got lust in his eyes.
Yeah.
Later that night, Bischoff once again returned tag titles to the Outsiders, who lost them at Super Brawl to Luger and the Giant. Luger apparently was injured and not cleared to wrestle at that event. It's always a stipulation with them.
But that, because there's so much stuff that happened. So Giant was already thrown out of the NWO, right? That was the first time they kicked him out.
Yeah, right before Super Brawl.
Yeah. Well, man, what was the circumstance? Because I get them confused. Was that when he dropped the ball?
Yes.
He was supposed to do.
Because remember, he goes back later on.
Right.
The He's the only 3-time NWO member, by the way. Just to let you know.
Right. But I remember that they beat him up. That wasn't when he wanted the title shot. That was later on, right?
That was later on. He wanted that.
Okay, yeah. As I remember,
it wasn't even worth mentioning because I mean
they jumped him and they threw him. Oh god.
I mean, the biggest guy in there, and we're gonna beat the crap out of you and send you packing, and then we'll let you back in a few months.
He dropped the ball. Yeah, he dropped the ball. No.
Like I said, the only 3-time member of the NWO. He didn't get the hint. In any event, so now we go to March 3rd. Turner Sports Vice President Dr. Harvey Schiller suspended Bischoff for his abuse of power in the office. This, I think, was just for him to take time off of TV and
probably
kind of focus on the business a little bit.
Yeah, Bischoff even said himself like it was a lot, like being the president and also being an on-air talent. It was a lot of work, a lot.
Oh, yeah. So now from there, the tensions actually began to surface within the NWO by April. Spring Stampede, the show ended with Savage and Bischoff at each other's throats after he lost to DDP.
Mm-hmm.
So now you look at it and go, okay, the typical timeline for a faction, this is where you should start seeing something because they've been together just about a year. And so it makes sense to do something like this. J.J. Dillon, who was actually appointed WCW commissioner during Bischoff's suspension, had Big Bubba Rogers and Mr. Wall Street removed from the NWO. I don't know if you remember that.
That I don't.
I really didn't. It was due to a contractual technicality, but I think they were at that point. I think they were leaving WCW.
Mm.
And also, DiBiase had quit the group after feeling remorse for the WCW wrestlers who were victims of NWO assaults. This is when he became the Steiner Brothers manager, which I couldn't see him as a fan favorite manager.
Yeah, no,
ever
a fan favorite. I don't think it worked.
Even watching the house shows with him in the late 70s when he first came in and he's a baby face, I couldn't see it. So it was actually later revealed that he was unhappy for being replaced by Bischoff. Is why he left there, which I knew that was going to happen. I know he had stuck around for a few nitros. He'd come out with them, but I mean, he didn't do anything. He wasn't, like you said, he was a wrestler.
Is Six Pac injured at this time? Because
Yes.
I forgot when he got hurt.
Yeah, he was hurt at this time.
So he's on the shelf. He's not wrestling.
No, he actually. What was it? I don't think he hadn't left yet.
No, but I remember he got hurt at some point.
Yeah, that's when he was fired by Fax.
Yeah.
But no, he's still around with them for the moment. I have that.
And the thing about some people don't notice, or maybe they may have forgotten. The original Wolfpack is Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, and X-Pac, or
Yes.
Six Pac. They were calling themselves the Wolfpack.
Six-Pac. Yes.
They were calling themselves.
Didn't they even do that in TNA when they went? They were back there.
They might have,
together.
but I wasn't really watching TNA like that.
I don't think anybody was, but I think I remember them calling themselves the Wolfpack.
They were the original. That's where the name comes from. The three of them.
And to be honest, you, me, and everybody watching here, out of all the NWO factions, I loved the Red and Black. A little bit more than the original.
Yeah.
Once they started getting ridiculous, the Red and Black was my favorite.
Yeah.
So now from there, May 26th, the NWO recruited the Great Muta, which was a huge asset to them, even though they didn't really use them.
Right.
Hiroshi Tenzu and Hiro Saito from New Japan. Okay. They had made occasional appearances due to wrestling in New Japan full time, but they were like kind of part time in there, which they really weren't used a whole lot. But it was just 3 more NWO mouths to feed at this point. So now we're up to 18. So the next on the list was Conan, who joined on July 14th after he attacked Mysterio. And it actually was the Mysterio Nash match that they had. And Conan had attacked them, and now K-Dog was part of it.
I like Conan, though.
I like them.
Conan was good.
Yeah, I liked him, especially when it was with the Red and Black.
But Wolfpack, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he really came into his own there. So, and at Bash of the Beach, pitted Luger and Giant versus Hogan and Rodman, if you remember that one.
Rodzilla.
Now Rodman's part of it.
Hot Rod,
and he said, I don't have to help my buddy Hogan. He's got this. This is just something I do when I'm bored. Go back to basketball. Do me a favor.
Is that when they had that famous Nitro in Chicago? Or was that a year later? I forget. When they came out, there was 6 limousines and they all come out, and they're all smoking the cigars, and they walk down.
I think this was this year.
It was 97?
Yeah, I believe so. I could be wrong. Because I know, and actually they did it a few times, but I remember that.
But I remember it was in Chicago. I remember.
Yeah,
with all the limousines.
He's a former Bull.
That was cool. At the time he was on the Bulls at the time.
So it had to be 97 because I think after 98 he was gone. After the the whole
the 98 the 98 season was the last season.
Yeah. So Luger won the match by forcing Hogan to submit, which is funny because I was hoping watching that Rodman would submit. He earned himself a title shot at Road Wild in August. Now, this is where we were talking about that he demanded the shot earlier. It was on August 4th on Nitro, 5 days before the pay-per-view, where he won the belt. I always thought it was, for some reason, I thought it was on Thunder, but Thunder wasn't on yet.
No, not 98.
What I'm getting confused is the Goldberg announcement was on Thunder. So
yes, they announced it just a few days before. I remember that.
I'll get to that in a second. Wow. Yeah. But see, this is again another way of WCW dropping the ball. They can't wait until to do this at the pay-per-view. They had to do this on Nitro for the ratings. Mm-hmm. And I mean, this could have been a great pay-per-view to where Luger beat Hogan for the belt at Road Wild. And I really liked that pay-per-view they did up in Sturgis with the bike rally and stuff. I thought it was really cool.
No,
some people thought it was cheesy, but it was different.
Yeah, I know some people didn't like it. I liked it though. I liked all that stuff. The Bash of the Beach. I liked the whole theme, like Halloween Havoc. The different it had a different feel, different theme. I thought it was cool.
Well, Halloween Havoc has been brought back to be an NXT thing. They did that last year. Mm-hmm. They brought back a few of the old WCW things. I just wish they bring back Starrcade.
Yeah,
because I like that. I liked, like you said, Bash at the Beach. Road Wild was a good one. So they had some good ideas. It was just the venue sometimes where they put it was something to be desired. So in any event, at Road Wild, Hogan regained the title after Rodman, dressed up as Sting, hit Luger with the bat. So, if anybody can tell what Rodman looks like, that's Rodman. So, just another NWO screw job.
Yeah.
So now Hogan gets the belt back. So, and at War Games, it was at this point now it was NWO versus the Four Horsemen.
Yes.
Now, this is where the famous Nitro skit came from, if you remember.
Mm-hmm.
The My Spot.
Yep.
And this is where X-Pac was dressed up as Flair. Six was dressed up as Flair. You had Conan was Mongo. Buff Bagwell was. I think Buff Bagwell was trying to be Arn. Nash was being Arn Anderson. With the toilet bowl seat in his hand.
The Buff Bagwell was Kurt Hennig.
Yes. And you see
when they come.
Six has got the water coming down.
Oh my god! And that was right after Kurt Hennig had joined the Four Horsemen.
Yeah, I'm not giving you just any spot, my spot, liver spot, dog spot, but my spot.
And they were like
one of the best skits they ever did,
making fun of him like he was a drunk or whatever. I think he had the cooler, right? He had the cooler of beer.
Yeah, and then Conan's over there with the wig on, constantly dropping the football.
Right.
He's trying to be Mongo.
That was classic. That was great, but you get two different versions of the story though. You get a version that they told them they were gonna do it and that they were fine. That Ric Flair and Arn Anderson were fine. They had no problem with it. And then there's another version that they never told them
And then when he came out the following week in the tuxedos and whatnot, that whatever he was legitimately pissed.
Right, Flair was always crying, but
there's no telling really to what it was. Obviously, they had to be all right with it with the skit. So I
don't know. It was funny. I thought it was.
I was laughing my butt off.
And this is before the DX stole the same idea with the Nation. Yeah.
Well, whether it stole it or not, it was equally as funny.
No, I'm just saying. You can see certain things.
Nitro did it first. I know.
Yeah. There's a few things that Nitro did first.
It's all right. We won.
Yeah, we.
Can't we?
I forgot you're secretly on the payroll.
I wish. my lifelong dream to work for WWE, but in any event. So now at War Games, that pit Nash, Conan, Six, and Buff Bagwell versus Flair, Hennig, McMichael, and Benoit. Mm-hmm. This is where Hennig turned on the Four Horsemen and joined the New World Order. So now he's part of the Black and White as well.
So he was a Four Horseman for like 2 seconds.
Yeah, literally. But I just love that. Would you take my spot? It would be an honor.
Yeah, it would.
And then he screws him. So
That was great.
It was funny. It led up to, it was a good storyline. It led up to Hennig joining the NWO.
Right.
Unfortunately.
Is that when he slammed? Was it him that slammed Flair's head into the
Steel steps?
the cage? Yeah. No, the cage. Remember, he closed the door. Might have been another match.
It could have been.
Yeah.
I mean, they always had heat and good matches together with each other. So now this is going to lead us to December 15th. Bret Hart makes his WCW debut. I feel like I'm going to be talking about him quite a bit here. So, and he declared that he would not join the NWO.
Right.
I remember when he came out on Nitro and was adamant about it.
And this is after they brought out the Canadian flags and they were
the night after Survivor Series, yes. Yeah. And I really thought he was going to show up the next night, literally, since they were doing that whole celebration for him.
Right. He still had the no complete clause, though. He was still under. Well, actually, he's still under contract. Then he had on top of being under contract for another month, he still had the no compete clause. That's why he couldn't wrestle at Starrcade.
Yeah. Which I think personally, his first appearance, I didn't like it. Terrible. I did not, as far as being a referee goes.
Do you want to be the referee? And he's like, yeah.
He could have easily did a run-in instead.
Should have done a run-in.
Instead of being the referee, because, I mean, he wasn't even really the referee.
He wasn't. He was the referee for
the match before that.
Yeah, what was it?
Bischoff and Zabisco.
Zabisco, yeah.
So he wasn't even the actual referee for this match, which I think is the reason why they vacated the belt again.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So the whole thing that you built up for 15 months with Sting just pretty much went in the toilet.
Yeah, that was and it was a bad way. It was a bad way to introduce Bret, and it was a bad way. You had a tremendous buildup with Sting for a year.
Yes.
And I remember this is one of like the few WCWs that I actually ordered and I actually paid money for.
I left work early to go watch this.
Yeah, I actually ordered. I was really, really excited about this match. And then the bell rang.
Because I got disappointed. This was the first of 2 Starrcades in a row that I was disappointed at. The other one being a year later with Nash. But I mean, this huge buildup, and you just, like I said, you just threw it in the toilet. I mean,
yeah, Sting.
Why did you do that?
I don't know. They dropped we'll get into it in the Bret Hart episode, so we're not going to talk too much about Bret, how they ruined him in WCW.
No.
But it was already doomed from the beginning. So
yeah,
you have the Starrcade match. You had a great build up. Sting's entrance was awesome. That's like one of my favorite entrances of all time. Was Sting's when they have the girls talking, the monologue about it was like the Crow, and he comes out and they have built it up good. And he was Scorpion Death dropping people prior to that, coming down from the rafters. Hogan was scared of him,
constantly with the bat pointing at him.
They had remember they had that press conference, and it might have been at the Hard Rock Hotel. I forgot where it was. They had that big press conference between the two of them before the fight, and then he got there. Sting he looked really thin. He didn't look as big,
Yeah, he lost a little bit of weight.
Yeah, and then Bischoff said, he didn't go tanning, which I'm not sure if it's the biggest deal in the world. He doesn't have a tan, but still, I mean, I guess it's part of like it shows you're not really giving your all. And they said Sting had a lot of personal problems. Prior to that, he wasn't in the greatest shape mentally nor physically. Hogan with the politics, because Hogan did not want to lose clean to Sting. And then there's nobody knows.
It should have been. Honestly, it shouldn't have gone Hogan's way. I think it should have been that way.
So for anybody that doesn't know this, the ending that was supposed to happen that everyone discussed was that Nick Patrick was going to do a quick count. Like a 1, 2, 3, really quickly, right? And that it was gonna be a fast count. And Bret Hart, that's when Bret Hart was gonna say, "No, this is not gonna happen again. You're not gonna screw this. It happened to me or whatever." But what happens is Hogan pins Sting, and it was a legitimate 1, 2, 3. So it looks like Hogan cleanly. It looks like Hogan's the one that got screwed. That Hogan went over clean on Sting. So then you had Bret there, and he's like, "No, it's not gonna happen again." But it looked ridiculous. I'm like, "Wait a minute!" I'm like, "Hogan just won," and nobody knows what the truth is. But the rumor and innuendo is that Hogan told Nick Patrick, "Don't count fast, count regular 1, 2, 3." So that way it looks like I really won the match. So,
wow,
who knows? Do I put it past Hogan? Absolutely not.
Considering his track record,
right? But who really knows?
Exactly.
So that was a disaster.
In any event, when he got there and said that he wasn't going to join the NWO, he did say he would be the special guest referee for the Bischoff Zbyszko match at Starrcade. There was a stipulation on that match. The stipulation was that Bischoff won, NWO got permanent control over Nitro.
Nitro, yeah.
If Zbyszko won, it would remain with WCW. We all know how that one went out. So, and that was actually funny because the Nitro before Starrcade, the NWO had destroyed anything WCW related.
Yeah, I remember that. They wrecked the stage and everything, yeah.
Yep. And they rebranded it NWO Monday Nitro.
NWO Monday Nitro. I used to love when they used to do stuff like that. They would go in the back trailer.
It's stuff that
they would scatter.
Before.
No, never. These guys would run away. Like the commentators, they would get the hell out of there.
Oh, Bobby Heenan. I'm out of here.
I'm out of here. Yeah. That's cool.
So this was done as a test run for a permanent changeover of Nitro with soon debuting Thunder Show coming.
Right. The plan, I don't even know where Bischoff was going with any of this. But it was supposed to be NWO Nitro, and then Thunder was supposed to be WCW led by Bret Hart.
Yeah.
Bret Hart was supposed to be the focus of
But when he changed the whole idea and just had another WCW show, now he's like, well, I got to get a whole new roster for this because remember, you got guys on guaranteed contracts working a fraction of the year, and now you have 2 shows to fill a year. So now it's 104 shows a year plus 12 pay-per-views, and so you got to get more wrestlers and more guys in for this.
But not only that, by that night, I think by that time Nitro was 3 hours, I think, or close to it. I remember Nitro was originally 1 hour, then it went to 2 hours,
2 hours,
and eventually went to 3.
Then Raw went to 2 hours 4 minutes. So then Nitro would go 2 hours 6 minutes.
They could get away with it because TNT.
They could go as long as they wanted.
He owned the.
So then on the East Coast it would go 8 to 11.
Yeah.
And Monday Night Raw was 9 to 11, and at that 9 o'clock hour is when they would tell you what happened.
Right.
Which on some of those Raws, when they would tell you this is what's going to happen, I would go, "Oh, thank you, Shivani. I'm going to go watch that now."
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Especially the Mick Foley thing.
Mm-hmm.
So Mick for years always said that he goes, I kind of took that as an insult, but if you look back on it, he kind of helped.
It helped
because the ratings went up about 2 million viewers at that 9 o'clock hour when it happened.
Yep.
So I always thought that was a cheap shot thing. It was nothing illegal in the business of doing it, but Bischoff always said whatever he could do to get the advantage over on Vince, he would do.
Yeah, at that point, yeah.
So in any event, the plan was quietly dropped due to the low ratings following the over 20-minute conversation they had, the member on the NWO set on Live Nitro after they destroyed it. Once they realized this wasn't going well because the ratings had kind of dropped a little bit, they said, all right, we'll just stick to strictly WCW.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
Which the first skit you're going to do should not be a 20-minute skit talking. So.
Yeah, that's true.
In any event, Zbyszko beats Bischoff at Starrcade. Hogan loses the title to Sting.
Right, Sting beats him.
So he accused Nick Patrick of making a fast count. In reality, he was, like you had said, he was supposed to make it a fast count, revealing to be a crooked official. According to Brett, well, pretty much you just said the whole thing. I was just about to repeat. So it didn't go well, and it was kind of disappointing.
Yeah, it definitely was. It was extremely disappointing for such a build-up.
15 months. I mean, 15 months, this needs to come out like Hogan Andre type main event. This needs to be legit 5-star classic.
Yep.
And we've got crap. This was maybe even the sign of things to come.
Could have been, yeah, definitely.
1998 had quite a few of them. This is where they built the coffin. The nails weren't going in yet.
Right. You could see the chinks in the armor, you know?
Yes.
You start to see.
Unfortunately, especially when you had these 3 guys in the ring and you blew it.
Yep.
So that sums up 1997.
That's 97. So you guys
96.
Yeah, 96 and 97, NWO start. Next
if we forgot anything, please feel free to let us know. Again, we're doing this one. There was a lot to cover. Especially in the first few years. So if there's something that we missed that you enjoyed watching over those first few years, by all means tell us and share it with us. Maybe we'll remember.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so next episode we're going to be covering the NWO in '98, which covers the Wolfpack.
Yeah, 98, 99 with the split off.
Yeah, and a lot of other stuff that started. This is where it started to go left. But
Mhm.
anyway, like Frank said, you guys let us know what you think. Make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you guys soon.
Take care, guys.